Welcome back, our viewers. We're just taking a short break, and thank you so much. Now we still have Honorable Biti as our guest. Now we want to hear from you, Honorable, with your experience as a politician, as a finance minister, as a lawyer, as a political analyst, as a Zimbabwean. What do you make of the current succession issues, to be precise, within ZANU-PF? Because we know for a fact that the constitution says one cannot be a president for more than 2 terms, and that ideally means that President Emmerson cannot constitutionally return post-2028 unless there is an amendment. What do you make of the ZANU-PF succession politics right now?
The attempt to force a 3rd term for Emmerson Mnangagwa and the inevitable constitutional amendments that will be required, the inevitable referendums that will be required for Emmerson to achieve his aim is an agenda, is a program that is now constituting the biggest existential threat to Zimbabwe since independence. It is a disastrous agenda that has the potential of leading this country into a civil war. It is a disastrous agenda that has got the potential of leading this country into another coup. But this time around, it will not be the seamless coup of November 2017. This time around, it will be Armageddon. It will be a bloodshed. So those people, including Emmerson, that are pushing this agenda, that are driving this ambitious, ill-advised, ill-thought program, should stop it, and stop it immediately, because it will shake Zimbabwe. It will cause an unnecessary assault on the body politic and the integrity of Zimbabwe as a nation state. I ask Mr. Mnangagwa, what else do you want to do which you would have failed to do in 10 years? 10 years is a long time. And remember, you were in government since 1980. So you've been in government for 44 years. So if you couldn't have done anything in 44 years, and in the 10 years where you're at the helm, you will never be able to do anything else. This agenda must be stopped. Zimbabwe is already fragile. Zimbabwe is already vulnerable. Without the self-induced disaster of a poisonous, toxic agenda of a 3rd term.
But Wabiti, we have heard the president, I think, more than twice. He said, no, I'm a constitutionalist. When my term comes to an end, surely I will follow the constitution. He said so more than twice. Said so in Mutare, said so at ZANU-PF, said it at some event somewhere else, that he is a constitutionalist. Why are people not believing you?
Because he is not genuine. He is the most powerful man in the country. He is the commander of the defense forces. He controls the security agents. So if he genuinely was against this ill-thought agenda, those of his disciples who are singing this tune would stop immediately. But they do it. His close confidants, the likes of July Moyo, the likes of Owen Mudanguve, they are the ones running with this agenda. His closest colleagues, the Daniel Garwes of this world, the foolish Machakaires of this world, they are running with these agendas. I've seen him at a function, he himself, where he asked every minister to stand and do that slogan. He himself. So he is playing.
I thought it was just a vision, not really to say he wants to be.
It's not a vision. The man suffers from an insatiable, unquenchable thirst for power. If Mugabe had 38 years, he also wants his 38 years. And the most dangerous people are not even him, are people in his courtyard, his children, their children's friends, people who are looting this country and who know that the precondition for them looting is only if Emmerson is sitting on the crown. The people in the courtyard, and those are the dangerous ones, they must stop this agenda and allow the Zimbabwean constitution to have integrity, to be respected. Mr. Mnangagwa has assaulted the constitution in two major constitutional amendments. Constitutional Amendment number 1 of 2017 and Constitutional Amendment number 2 of 2020. The attempt to amend section 287, 288, 289, the provision that protects and limit the terms of office, will be the most dangerous constitutional attack that will have been carried in this country since independence.
Why?
Unfortunately, it is an attack on the majority of Zimbabweans who have a vested interest in making sure that leaders come, leaders go, leaders come, leaders go. The biggest thing that we achieved during the constitutional making process was to deal with the idea of an imperial permanent president in the form of Robert Mugabe. So the people of Zimbabwe don't want another Mugabe. That's why they put that provision that says you can only do for 2 terms if we want you. Vanhu havasi kuda nemuzano macho imomo, vanhu havasi kuda zvinoita madictator ava manje ava. Publicly vana Museveni vese vakaita ma2 terms, vana Siad Barre weku Somalia, vana Hofet Bwinyi weku Cote d'Ivoire, vana Blaise Kambore weku Burkina Faso, vana Abdullahi Wade weku Senegal. Tsika yavanoita vanoti ina handisi kudaba, vanhu ndo vari kuda, asi vanhu vacho vari iye, vanhu vachitorohwa nekupiwa mari nekumupindikidza kuti vati 2 terms. Mukatarisa zvimaposta zvezvi zviri kusimudzwa kuti id chakuti zvimasongo zviri kutogadzirwa, kunoto neofisi kuma-CIO iri kutogadzira zvimaplakadzi zvezvi. The people of Zimbabwe were abused by Robert Mugabe. The people of Zimbabwe were abused by a president who couldn't even go to the bathroom. He needed help because he was too old. So we said no to the Robert Mugabe agenda. We can't allow a thorn called Emmerson Mnangagwa to step into the shoes of the baobab called.
If you go to parliament, honorable, right now, ZANU-PF has got 2/3 majority.
If you have a secret ballot in parliament, Emmerson will not get a 2/3 majority. If you have a secret ballot, that I can assure you. That I can assure. People of Zimbabwe don't want this. I speak to ZANU-PF people. I speak to members of the security forces. I am a member of a church that I'm proud of. I speak to Zimbabweans. I've never come across a Zimbabwean who says yes to the idea of emasculating the constitution in favor of a 3rd term. Show me one. I'll change my name to John Dotito. Just one.
But people are saying he is one of the persons who has done so much work now and they would want him to...
What work? What work? As I'm talking to you right now, we've got the highest inflation in the world. As I'm talking to you right now, we've got the worst currency in the world. As I'm talking to you right now, 79% of Zimbabweans are living in extreme poverty, surviving on less than US $1.20 a day. As I'm speaking to you right now, official unemployment is 95%. The majority of our people are in the informal sector. So what has he done?
So what should be done anyway? Maybe to prevent...
Four things.
Chaos.
Four things. Mr. Mnangagwa must go to Parliament and unequivocally announce that he will respect the Constitution. He has got powers under the Presidential Powers Temporary Measures Act. He can create an offense of saying anyone who says he wants me to be third term is an offense. He can do that. I challenge him to do that. But he must be clear and unequivocal that the Constitution will be protected, the Constitution will be respected. That's number one. Number two, let us attend to electoral reforms, and let us attend to those things that SADC spoke about in their 2018 report. That 45 observer missions wrote about in their 2018 report. The European Unions, the Qatar Center, SADC itself, the African Union, the Commonwealth, 45 observer missions. What are those things? A proper delimitation exercise. What are those things? Complete, this one was flawed. What are those things? The complete demilitarization of the Zimbabwean electoral field. What are those things? A free and genuinely open media landscape. What are those things? The complete de-weaponization of food and imports. What are those things? The proper security of the voter. What are those things? The proper security of the vote. What are those things? Open access to the server. What are those things? Live, real transmission of the results, particularly the presidential results. What are those things? Instant announcement of the results, the presidential results within 24 hours of voting. America is going to vote on the 5th of November 2024. I can assure you by the 6th of November, the whole world will be knowing the result. Yet 300 million people are voting. In Zimbabwe, less than 2 million people vote, but it takes us 6 weeks to announce the results. So let's attend to those things now. Namhla Katesi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Biti. Thank you, viewers. You have heard from Honorable Biti, who is sharing his views and advices in terms of the ZANU-PF succession question that we see unfolding, and their conference is just starting. So, Honorable, now we want also to hear from you. There's this another question that the Zimbabweans, particularly civil servants, in fact, every Zimbabwean is asking himself or herself, what kind of a country have we become? That in 2, 3, 4, 5 months, we come up with a new currency. And in view of the ZIG, which was born on the 5th of April this year, we were told a lot about this currency, that this was backed by gold. We visited the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. We saw the bars, the gold bars, for the first time. So many things were said. But now, a couple of weeks ago, this is the currency which was devalued and rendering, after paying civil servants, paying everybody, the currency has been devalued. What is exactly going on and what is happening exactly in this country?
I think they are not capable of running this economy. They've totally mismanaged this economy. And the one thing that they can't rig, the one thing that will catch them out and catch them out instantly is the exchange rate, is the currency. So in a very short period of time, we've gone through severe periods of currency shocks. We started off with our Zimbabwean dollar, which you and I know collapsed dramatically on Black Friday, the 14th of November, 1997. Then we had the bearer check then we redominated that money. By 2008, we were printing $100,000 trillion note that couldn't buy you 2 bottles of soda, and we were all trillionaires, but the poorest trillionaires in the world, the poorest billionaires in the world. Then we stabilized the thing through the introduction of the US dollar in 2009 to 2013. A lot of people think that it's just a question of introducing a currency. No, you have to protect its integrity. And we protected the integrity of the currency we're using, the US dollar, by living within our means, by controlling broad money. Because what makes the currency collapse is that the government keeps on printing money. And when it prints money, there's too much money chasing too few goods. Economists call it broad money. So this government is excellent at creating money, at creating a broad money. In the last few months alone, it has created broad money by over 300%. And we know it when they create money, when they pay contractors, when they pay in particular the road contractors. Each time they do that, there's too much money on the market and the Zimbabwean dollar collapsed. So after 2014, when Chinamasa took over, they went back to the natural default base, printing money, living beyond their means. I live $6.2 billion cash. $6.2 billion. The figures are there. They're public knowledge. So they started printing money. By 2016, 4 May 2016 in particular, John Panonetsa Mangundla introduced the bond note. And it has been a downward spiral since then. From the bond note, 19th February 2019, they introduced the RTGS dollar. They put adverts, gauge, dollar to dollar. It's backed by a $200 million facility from the African Import-Export Bank, commonly known as AFRIC, which was a fiction, which was a lie. What happened? By January of 2024, it was trading almost to 100,000. So what do they do with the ZIG? They removed the zeros on the RTGS. They redenominated the RTGS dollar and gave it a new name called the ZIG. Now there's something in names. Never call your son Chenam or Dambruzzo. If you call a current ZIG, it will zigzag. Don't curse your children by giving them names. So it zigzagged, introduced on the 5th of April, by 28th of April, devalued by over 50%. But the said lie was caught that it was gold-backed. It was never gold-backed.
Can you explain to us when you say a currency is backed? What does that mean?
No one backs currency anymore. It's madness. No one backs. Currencies are backed by confidence, by the belief that this government will run this currency and this economy well, which is why the United States dollar is fungible. Trillions of it float in the entire world because the world monetary system has got confidence in the thing. So what used to happen was that the origins of banking was that people would mine their gold, and leave it with innkeepers. So they leave it with innkeepers, their gold physically, and they would get a promissory note. So the innkeeper will say, I'm sorry, and so I'm keeping this man's gold. In England, blacksmiths used to do that. I'm a blacksmith, I'm keeping this man's gold. So that promissory note suddenly became exchangeable, and that's how modern money started. So it was begged. So to every promissory note, there was a bar of gold. So much of the world begged this currency. But after the First World War, governments had to print money to support the war. So America dropped gold-backed currency. South Africa followed a few years later, around 1933. And pretty much the rest of the world stopped backing
their currencies.
They suddenly realized, no, hang on a minute. We can operate on the fiction of money. And what backs us is us as a state, that we can't go broke. And the signature of it's trust.
So what must be done?
So the real crisis with the Zimbabwean currency, yes, they print money, is that no one trusts that signature. No one trusts the government. It's a crisis of confidence because people are being run by people that they are not voting, and people that they know don't have the capacity, the craft competency of running this economy. So this currency will continue suffering the stomach bug and permanently hemorrhaging, permanent diarrhea, permanent collapse. As I'm talking to you right now, it's trading at around 1:52. By Christmas, it will have hit 100 because there's no trust, there's no confidence. And 4th Street knows that, let's wait. They will open the taps by paying the contractors. The contractors need money. They made and paid up all these roads for SADC. 4,000 vehicles were bought for SADC. That's over $200 million. I don't know how many hospitals could have been sorted, but they bought 4,000.
Let's put you, Honorable, in maybe not in the governor's shoes, but even in the treasurer's shoes. We return into the finance ministry.
I'll scrap the ZIG. I'll scrap the ZIG immediately. I would dollarize, but there has to be paying. So export surrender requirements have to be. So a lot of things. It will not be as easy as 2009. There will be a lot of paying. Because the US dollar itself has been bastardized. There is now real US dollar inflation in Zimbabwe. So a lot of structural things have to take place, including resolving the debt question. We've got a sovereign debt of over 42 billion. The government says it's 22 billion. It's growing. In the last few months, it grew from 17 billion officially to 21 billion dollars because they are printing money. So you have to deal with the debt. You have to scrap the ZIG.
But some argue, Honorable, to say no country has economically succeeded with dollarization.
I've no problem. I have no problem in the introduction of a local currency, provided you float it completely. But you know, that is also a lie. That is also another lie that is maintained. The real issue is where a country is involuntarily surrendered its currency. It has mismanaged its currency. There is no country except Panama in 1904 that has been able to introduce its currency, because currency is political. Currency collapse is political. It's a loss of confidence. So
you mean we can stay with the dollar for until when?
No. I didn't say that.
So at what point?
We have to find a clever and sustainable ways and means of de-dollarizing. And for me, the answer lies in regional integration. The answer lies in African integration.
What
So,
do you mean?
we have SADC, and inside SADC is SACO. And it's the oldest monetary union in the world, set up in 1908. They use the rand. In Lesotho, in South Africa, in Swaziland, and in Namibia. So Southern African leaders themselves have a commitment to regional integration. So we have a free trade area, and let's have a common monetary area. One central bank and one currency, whatever you're going to call it. That is the way to go. But this requires convergence. All these countries have to have common convergence factors on a debt to GDP ratio, debt to export ratio, on inflation figures, on budget deficits. And this is the problem, because no one wants to import Zimbabwe's problems. So if you take Zimbabwe out, these other countries, Botswana, Mozambique, South Africa, they can easily find themselves in. The sick man of the region is Zimbabwe. So the ultimate solution to Zimbabwe's currency lies in actually genuinely stabilizing this economy, attending to the fundamental reforms that are required. If you do so, it doesn't matter what currency you are using, whether it's the US dollar, whether it's the rand. It also then makes it easier for you to go into a monetary union either with SADC or with East and Central Africa. Remember, we now have the African Free Trade Area. The African Free Trade Area is just a precursor to a future African monetary union. There's a European monetary union, the EU. They use the euro. Cynics would argue that the euro is just the Deutschmark by another name. Just like the future SADC currency, I would argue, will just be the rand by another name, but it promotes trade. It promotes economies. And that's the future to go. But you can't go there without attending to the huge structural challenges that are facing this economy, which includes low productivity, which includes corruption, which includes misaligned allocation of resources. We are a consuming economy, not a producing economy, which includes the debt question that I've talked about, which includes a false accumulation model based on extraction and export of raw materials without beneficiation, i.e. lack of industrialization, lack of development, which also includes lack of data, lack of digitalization, lack of technology, which includes another issue you have raised, the issue of the decarbonization of this economy. We are producing too much carbon and hence global warming, which is affecting us. So these are immediate challenges that need to be addressed before we are a fit and proper country that can knock on South Africa and say we want to join SACO, or we want there to be a regional monetary union. We can't talk to Tanzania, we can't talk to Kenya, we can't talk to Tanzania and say we want a free trade area to become a monetary union as well, because we are too sick to be admitted in that region as Zimbabwe.
Hello viewers, thank you very much. You have heard it from Honorable Biti, who was sharing with us, of course, his views, his expert advice in terms of our currencies, the zigzagging. That's what he is saying. He has also offered the possible recommendations and solutions that we should adopt as a country in order to rescue ourselves from this quagmire. Thank you once more, Honorable Maitabas.